We usually in our everyday don't really appreciate what mining provides us and enables us as benefits and luxuries and also necessities. So that's how it occurs in nature. So the yellow powder is kind of the natural uranium. It's in a very low concentration, and that brings us to the beauty of the AMCs. I kind of missed having that fund, and with the AMC it's much easier kind of to offer something to a qualified audience, and the standards are very high of the AMCs, which we appreciate.
This is the Assetizer Podcast.
So welcome everybody. I'm here today with Patrick Michaels, the CEO of Zuri-Invest, which is a Swiss investment boutique with some very interesting specializations, some of which we'll be able to touch and feel today. Patrick, welcome.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me, Tom, and happy to share some ideas and conversation on what we are doing together.
Great. Now, before we get our hands on the uranium that's coming, why don't you tell us a bit about Zuri-Invest, what you specialize in, and how that all got started?
Sure, yeah. So I joined the company in 2003, a second generation. I've always been looking at the stock markets kind of as a student, as a passion, and I took the opportunity to join our company kind of on a broader angle for generally stock picking, but very fast had the opportunity to also specialize on mining investments, as one always needs some kind of an edge versus the usual blue chip ideas. Yeah.
Okay, so Zuri-Invest specializes in mining, but it didn't always, right? You said this was...
it's kind of my father. Yeah, my father already had a specialization on mining in the 80s until 87, and it kind of, there was, as it goes in cycles, the market got a bit more quiet in mining, and actually the early 2000s were ideal timing to kind of, for him, relaunch on that topic and for me to dive into that topic.
Okay,
yeah.
So there's so many different asset classes and so many different ways you could go. Why mining?
Well, if you can't grow it or catch it, it comes from a dark hole in the ground. So I think we usually in our everyday don't really appreciate what mining provides us and enables us as benefits and luxuries and also necessities. So we use our phones and tools, energy, it's all metal related. Technology, data centers, and on the other hand, one feels, we can do without that, but let's think about what we use in our everyday, even the water glass being out of quartz sand. So I think we need to refocus, things need to be done properly, which I think the listed companies anyway do, no shortcuts. ESG has been a big topic. I feel when I look back, the good companies have kind of done the ESG kind of approach since decades.
So let's go back to Zuri-Invest, and I'm coming from the outside. I don't know the company.
Yeah.
What are your products? What's your value prop and your products, and what can I as an investor do with you guys?
Yeah, so traditionally in the 44 years of the company's existence, we focused on discretionary mandates, classical asset management. But then at some point we felt, okay, there's the clients where we do the whole allocation and risk profile, everything, but there's also professional audience. And through the AMCs, actually, it's a great tool. We always put our own money where we speak, so that's why we have our slogan, invest together with us. It's not just about having the next product and the next. We create them because we believe in those topics, and now it enables other professional investors that might seek a specialization to add that like a module or a building stone to their portfolio without needing to be a direct client. So I think we have now more flexibility and kind of a two-track approach or offering.
Your products are they based on specific projects? Are they based on specific commodities? Are they,
Yeah.
like if I come to you, what are options would I have?
So the first product out of the gate, I felt it will be nice to offer a global mining portfolio. The history is that we helped co-found a separate company in 2005 with a fully licensed fund. At some point we sold on that fund because of the regulatory requirements. For one product, we felt it's a bit steep to suddenly have 9 employees. Yeah. And that brings us to the beauty of the AMCs. I kind of missed having that fund, and with the AMC, it's much easier kind of to offer something to a qualified audience. And the standards are very high of the AMCs, which we appreciate. So that was our first product in October 2020. And we built up on that and the ability that the AMCs offer. And it's as innovative as securitizing physical uranium, which we did together with Gen 2 in summer of 2023. And we think it's just amazing the abilities and the creativity you can put to your strategies and the underlying products.
You've mentioned AMCs a couple of times as actively managed certificates,
Yes.
and they're like wrappers for pretty much any kind of an asset.
Yeah.
We do a lot of work here at Gen 2 with AMCs. They're actually quite well known here in Switzerland, but not necessarily elsewhere in the world.
Yeah.
So let's say if I was a family office coming to you and from abroad and was interested and had you to tell me what is this AMC, what would you say?
Okay, yeah. I think the AMC we can refer to as a fund lookalike tool. As it has many ingredients like multiple I principles on how it's governed. So for a family office, I think the beauty is of an AMC that we can set all kinds of terms and strategy in the term sheet. It's really very flexible whether we want to securitize an asset.
You like could say assetize. We don't have.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
It's just fun.
Yeah, exactly. A commodity or a strategy. If somebody wants to invest in Mexican silver mines that only use donkeys, I mean, I can put together kind of the whole scope of a universe that matches that request. And I think within 3 weeks, we have something up and running with Gen 2's good work. So that opens a lot of avenues versus having off-shelf products. We can really tailor-make them. And naturally, there's some effort to it, so it makes sense for a certain size. I think anything starting at 3 to 5 million, one can really be very individually minded.
You're right. Yeah. So I mean, that's interesting when you compare it to putting together a fund, right? So AMC is basically a way to bundle pretty much any group of assets or that you have on one side, and then securitize it, and offer shares basically.
Exactly, and the beauty is bankable. Yeah, it shows up in the statement of the client, which with many kind of private equity style investments, you have it somewhere in your accounting. You have those positions, but if you have an ISIN number, it's booked differently. It gets a valuation by the proper counterparty that is kind of dedicated to providing the valuation. And I think that makes it very serious for all parties involved. What I really started also to appreciate having a SPV structure where we can kind of create as many separate AMCs as we wish. It even has a benefit for, how should I say, our peer group. So that would fall under the term of coopetition. If an asset manager looks for a fast solution, as he is equally regulated, we can invite him into our structure and rather easily, together with Gen 2, kind of have a product created to his needs. It's like renting out an apartment in your apartment block. So I think that opens again new avenues. It saves time, it's cost efficient, and it's again synergistic.
So in other words, another asset manager could basically also sell these products.
He could, if he seeks a strategy and
Right.
needs a fast solution, it might take a while to onboard him for a full SPV. Or at that moment, he doesn't feel like having the whole.
All right, and then you have the SPV, which is special
yes,
purpose vehicle.
yes.
Which
So we can invite him in, or even also kind of partners of ours that are close to us, asset managers. We can create together an idea. If somebody specialized on maybe rare earth, and we are more on the precious metals, we can put our heads together for a new strategy and kind of have it set up very fast and efficiently.
Now, do you find this sort of, this is extremely tailor-made kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
So do you find an advantage there as opposed to just, a mining index fund or a commodity fund or something like this?
We do feel in these kind of special themes, as we can, as an example, take smaller markets like we're working on a product for the Greek stock market.
Okay.
Those are not markets where you have easy access to the underlying shares, maybe because of lack of analyst coverage, or the size doesn't allow for the big boys to have these big passive index products. So that's, I think, where the stock picking and high monitoring kind of topics make sense. Like on the mining shares, we really need to follow them on a very fast pace. We don't know, in certain countries, maybe tomorrow the law changes and we have to take a decision that the taxes suddenly double. So we need to be agile, and I think that's usually an advantage to maybe rebalancing indices or passive ETFs.
And again, the AMC allows you, and it says it's actively managed. You can react really quickly.
Really quickly. So another nice example on the agility of the products, like in the precious metal space, we still favor, after this big run-up of the gold price, which we are very happy for, we still see a valuation gap to the mining equities. Whilst on uranium, we decided that the commodity as such is actually, in our view, more interesting than kind of having in a limited universe of equities a basket of the different uranium stocks. They all have their merit, but it's as a commodity very uncorrelated, it's regulated, and it's not so easy for an investor to store uranium. So having an AMC, we kind of fixed in a very price efficient way that kind of edge. Money from the investor comes into the AMC, uranium is bought and stored in the name of the AMC, in Canada with the biggest Western uranium company called Cameco Corporation. And we think that's really best-in-class setup. And it saves now other investors that are seeking exposure the due diligence of getting a storage account, which you can imagine not everybody gets access to such. So I think that's one use case we are, I think also with Gen 2 together, very proud. It took a bit longer on the due diligence, which is fine, because we want things to be well understood and properly done. But the result, I mean, it's great.
This is basically an AMC on a certain amount of physical uranium that's being stored by this specialist company.
Yes.
Where? Is it in Canada?
In Canada, in Ontario,
right? In Ontario,
in their safety storage facility.
I can buy a share in that and participate in the uranium price.
Uranium.
So since we're at uranium, you brought some.
I did indeed.
And this freaks me out
Yeah.
every single time.
So the uranium.
First thing I want to say is I don't want to touch it, but apparently it's okay.
So that's how it occurs in nature. So the yellow powder is kind of the natural uranium. It's in a very low concentration. It needs to be kind of, yes, sure, you can have it. Yeah. So that's from Namibia. Yeah.
Namibian uranium.
Namibian
Okay.
uranium.
All right. The yellow stuff. There you
The
go.
yellow stuff,
Yeah.
it's non-enriched when we gather it in nature. It's also referred to, you have those typical drums with the yellow powder, and that's also what we are buying and storing for the clients. We want to be on the safe side, on the right side of the regulatory equation, so it's non-enriched uranium. That's what the utility companies, the main use of uranium is for electrification. 98% go into that avenue. That's where it is a standardized product as U308.
That's for the reactors.
That's what the reactors need to have afterwards in enriched form.
Enriched form, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's kind of the basic commodity that they trade and buy. Yeah.
And what else have you got for us today?
So, yeah, I think speaking of green metals and the green economy, to me, copper is the metal that is has been traditionally important for electrification. But then you look at all the electric vehicles, the heart of them is actually a big copper, how do you call it? Copper wire engine that is the key part. So I think we don't even need to jump around all these exotic metals that vary on new technology kind of developments. Copper you need in any way.
This is heavy. This is copper through and through, right?
This is copper through and through. It's a copper nugget. Yeah. So I think that can hurt. It has a high density. I think at this point it's important to see, are there enough new discoveries of copper resources to replace even the current depletion of mines? The answer is actually no. The big mines are globally depleting.
Okay, so
is there enough kind of attention and money going into finding the next big copper mine? I think the answer, we see that a lot of money, billions have been going to the chip manufacturing industry and many other topics. But what can they do without the basic goods? So I was at a very interesting talk where the CEO of Siemens Energy spoke about 300 to 500 billion annual spend on new electric grid. And for any energy, we need smart grids to handle the spikes in electricity that is being produced or not produced. Then back to uranium, we need this 24/7 baseload energy. We need low carbon emission energy. That's why we really believe in the nuclear space. And it's kind of all interrelated. Then we have old grid systems, like the US, it's at least 40-year-old electric grid. That will also need billions of replacement and investments. At the same time, we had the International Energy Agency last week forecast 4% electricity demand growth. And we all know it can be coal, it can be oil and gas, but it can be also alternatives. And I think having all these emission targets, we all know it has to be alternatives.
Something else?
Yes. So here we have a quarter of a drill core from a gold and copper discovery.
Okay.
And one can feel the density. What we see here is kind of pyrite, what we refer to as fool's gold. But there's finely disseminated 7.9 grams of gold per ton.
Wow.
And about 3-4% copper. And you can feel it's solid.
You have to distill that out of this?
So when they drill, they usually split it into quarters. One quarter gets ground up in the laboratory to give a reliable kind of, that's how they pull them out.
2001, right? Dude.
Yeah. So they give a reliable kind of analysis of what metals are to be expected. Then it comes to drill spacing. The more narrow the drill spacing is, you start first for economic reasons with like 100 or 50 meter spacing, but then you have certain standards to call it a more well-defined resource, which is also economically relevant, and whether it's a resource that is mineable ultimately. And that goes through a lot of also external third-party regulatory hurdles. And then naturally through the mining laws on the whole environmental impact studies and so forth. Yeah. So it's a long way, and it's getting longer and longer with permitting hurdles from discovery until you have a mine. And unfortunately, people are used to push a button and they have a product, but that's not how reality works. And there we see this value creative chain. That one needs to time well. Yeah, I think that's again back to your question about active management.
Right.
Yes, it has to be very actively managed. Yeah.
Well, Patrick, as always, this is very interesting. I'm gonna.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
I'm not gonna grow a third, 11th finger tonight or anything like that. I didn't last time.
Yeah,
so-
or a third eye,
Or a
like
third eye. That wouldn't be
how
bad,
is it
actually.
Blinky the fish from
yeah.
The Simpsons? Yeah,
You also brought your hard hat, by the way.
yeah, I did.
Modeled that
So
for us yet.
we we do go and look at these things. Safety first. Yeah,
Would this protect you from?
it will protect us. That works. Yeah, good. Mission accomplished. No, we want to just say there are no shortcuts on safety, on community work. That kind of applies to everything. And we also feel when we do our blue chip selection, when we can, if it's possible, we visit the production site, whether it's the second largest fire engine producer in Austria and the US. We go to capital market days where we can. We don't only meet the CEOs and the management, we also want to see how happy are the people, how efficient are they set up, are they ready for kind of the next wave of competition, are they lean enough and cost sensitive enough. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, great. Thanks.
Great.
That was
Thanks
fun.
for having me.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure. And yeah.
Great.